And welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas, just really enjoying our visit with Terry Bailey. He's a pastor at Indian Run Christian Church, and talking about the Community Harvest Garden. What I love, Terry, is that your church is working on this garden. Individual parishioners have their own gardens, and anyone who wants to help is welcome. Mm-hmm. And then there are other churches as well who have partnered with Community Harvest. And you pull that all together, and we're feeding the hungry right here in our own community. It's just a beautiful partnership. Loving seeing this. You also have partners that are called Faith Promise Missions.
Yes.
Tell me about those.
We support 4 missions on a regular basis. It is the Colombian Christian Mission, which is a church planting and Bible college mission in Bogota, Colombia.
Ooh.
Pregnancy Choices here locally, and
Yes.
you saw that a member of their staff was showing off one of our watermelons.
And it looked beautiful.
They're delicious, too. And the Christian Children's Home of Ohio in Wooster is one of our Faith Promise missions. And then Hands for Jesus, a Christian school in Guaymaca, Honduras, is our 4th. Our people, we have a Faith Promise Sunday in May at which we pledge what we intend to give. It came this year, I'm pretty sure, like $23,000. And
Wow.
That's turned in week to week. We're ahead of schedule on collecting that money right now for the year. And those folks, we do other mission things here and there, hit and miss, but those people get a check from the church every month.
That's fantastic. How were they chosen?
Personal contacts, and Pregnancy Choices is our latest addition to the program. When we had supported a church in Taiwan until, praise God, they told us we're self-sufficient now. We raise enough money to see to our own needs, and so we moved on, and we thought, well, we'd like to do another local mission. And while we were a very pro-choice congregation, we felt like we haven't really put ourselves out there in that cause yet. So Pregnancy Choices seemed like a great place to start with that.
And support life. A congregation of 200, you said? Okay, in this era of mega churches, I wouldn't call 200 people a mega church.
No, that's still a small church.
Yes, and yet you're impacting the entire world. Talk about that a little bit.
God does not require huge numbers of people to do anything. He requires only obedience and a desire to glorify Jesus Christ. He can work with that. And you take the gifts that you are given. The projects that we do are things that our rural, agrarian, hands-on kind of congregation are good at.
Yes.
And that's what God gave us, and He honors us using what we have.
I know folks who I hear you and they're inspired right now, and they're saying, I've got too big of a lot. I really ought to grow a little bit and share some of that. But they don't have that gift that you and your congregation obviously have. They don't have the green thumb. What kind of tips can you give the average person who would love to get involved in perhaps partnering with Community Harvest as well, perhaps just growing some produce and donating it to their food cupboard?
There are things that are easy to grow. It depends a little bit on your soil. If you have sandy soil and are willing to put down a little weed barrier, melons grow great in Ohio, but the weed barrier helps keep them warm because we're a little cool for them, short growing season otherwise. It's hard to give that kind of advice.
Yeah,
just generally speaking.
General in Ohio,
but,
I'm not sure.
If your soil is not quite so sandy, then potatoes also do well and are really easy to grow. Potatoes are an easy crop.
And then I'm sure you put a lot of people to work as far as the weeding and the kinds of things that have to be done in between the planting and the harvesting.
And until things start bearing fruit, we're out there every Saturday morning just chopping up weeds, running rototillers, trying to keep it clean and in order.
And again, you're teaching biblical principles like by their fruit, you will know them. I got a funny story there. My parents, when they were living, thought they'd pull a trick on our kids, and our kids planted watermelons, and nothing really came of those watermelons. And my parents one day pulled up when no one was looking and put a lot of pumpkins there, and the kids thought, well, we grew pumpkins instead. And so, yeah, for the people who are not gardeners, there's lots to learn. Any place where you would direct us to find out about how to become a little better at gardening?
Stark County actually has a Master Gardener program, and that's their name, Master Gardeners of Stark County. You can find them online, you can look them up and go to them physically, and they are probably a fount of information for people who don't know how to raise produce. Teach you all the tricks.
That's a brilliant idea. I've got a good friend who did that.
I'd mentioned earlier, we will be on the farm tour this year. Master Gardeners will be on our site handing out information if you come to the farm tour.
Very cool. Tell us about the farm tour taking place in October.
October the 2nd, noon to 4, Farm Bureau of Stark County selects a few sites in a given area of the county each year where people visit, and it may be in the course of the day as many as 3,000 people come to each site and see what's happening. They have selected our site this year, and if you come, we'll show you where we grow the garden and what we do with the produce and how all that kind of thing goes. Give you some information about the church. There'll be food and some games, but also local greenhouse programs and Master Gardener, and maybe I think we're trying to get to Stark County beekeepers. All this kind of good local agricultural information will be there so that people can make those connections. Community Harvest will be there, and some of the others that we support, Total Living Center, all these ministries will have information there. And if you're interested in working with them and knowing what their needs are, this would be a great opportunity for you to find out.
That's awesome. That, again, is October 2nd from noon to 4. Where exactly do we go?
To Indian Run Christian Church.
And you're located?
At the intersection of Route 44 and Hill Church Street.
Okay.
Our address is 8368 Hill Church in East Canton, though we're about 5 miles from East Canton. It's a little rural, but the intersection of State Route 44 and Hill Church Street. If you're there, you will see us.
Oh, this is just wonderful. All right. So to recap everything, Indian Run Christian Church, it's Community Harvest Garden, and it has about an acre right there on your campus as far as near the church, partnering with Community Harvest to grow good food for all the locals here who need help in that area. And amazing that you've been able to keep it watered with the creek and everything, that you've been able to pull this off even in such a dry season as we have had. I'm curious, Terry, you seem to be somebody who's been here all of your life. Am I guessing right?
No, I've been here 21 years. I grew up in central Indiana.
What brought you here?
Came to minister with the church. It was just a time God was letting me know I was done where I was, and it was time to move on. And through one contact and another, God always works these things out, because I'd never heard of Indian Run Christian Church. But we got together and interviewed, and been here ever since.
Yes. And when you were in Indiana, did you grow up in the rural area? Or you?
Yes, I did. I grew up on a small farm in Morgan County, Indiana.
And what drew you to the ministry?
God called me when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
It was just the clearest thing, and yet so hard to make anybody understand. I was sitting on the pew, not particularly paying any attention to what the minister was saying. At least I don't remember what he said. And it was like an electric current. And I knew two things instantly. I needed to be baptized into Christ on that moment, and I needed to dedicate my life to Christian ministry.
Wow.
Never considered anything else from that time forward.
And I can tell from just the look on your face that this has been the most fulfilling life a person could ask for.
It has been a good life. It has its challenges. There are some hard seasons, but it's a good walk with God.
For this particular project that you're involved with, how fulfilling is that for you now?
Very fulfilling. First, I like gardening. I grew up on a farm. It keeps me in touch with my roots, all those things. It's a great time of fellowship. We have a lot of hot dog dinners with it and the guys goofing around and laughing. The garden time is generally a very happy time for our congregation, and it binds us together. So very fulfilling experience.
And I'm curious to know, Community Harvest has got to be very impressed when a small church, 200 people, can grow 25,000 pounds. Last year, 27,000. You'll probably surpass that.
We hope.
But a goal of 25,000 pounds of food, it's hard to get your mind wrapped around that. What's been their response in working with you?
Well, they've been very appreciative, and this year, not that that's the important thing, but they gave us a very nice award, a nice plaque, which is displayed in the church, named us their Community Partner of the Year.
Wow.
When our produce this last garden season over the years exceeded 100,000 pounds of produce. So we were very honored to receive that award, but again, we hope the glory goes to Jesus Christ.
When we're throwing around those kinds of numbers, it's hard to remember. Break it down. You were telling me a little about how many pounds of squash you might get in a week and so forth.
This year, as the weeks have gone by, just yellow crookneck squash. The week of July 18th, 45 pounds. The following week, 85 pounds. The following week, 206 pounds.
Oh my.
The week after that, 115 pounds. That's just squash.
That's only the squash.
Only squash. We'll usually grow 5,000 or 6,000 pounds of potatoes, 10,000 pounds of melons, all told.
Does any of it go to waste?
As little as we can help. There's maybe at this point a half a dozen cantaloupe that I've thrown away, but we try to stay on it and keep it picked and not let it go bad. You can never get 100% of it, but we get most of it.
As an expert, I've got to come to you for your expertise again. How do you keep the bugs away and the worms away and all those kinds of things?
We keep it as organic as possible. Believe it or not, I could show you pictures of where we have walked through the potato patch, little kids and grown-ups and whoever else with buckets in hand, picking off potato bugs, throwing them in the bucket. A bucket full of potato bugs is not a real appealing sight.
Yeah.
And When we've got them all picked off for a day, I'll walk across the highway to the big creek and dump them in.
There you go. Okay,
figure
so
at least I can feed the fish.
You save their lives temporarily, and then. Okay. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're keeping it organic as possible. Not a lot of chemicals going on these foods.
No, not hardly any. And the things that we do use, when we have to fight fungus in the melons or whatever else, I try to use the organic approved products, rather than systemic things which can invade the fruit itself and
the water.
Sure. So we try to keep it as organic as we possibly can.
Hats off to you, Terry Bailey, Indian Run Christian Church and the Community Harvest Garden. Stop by for sure. That farm tour October 2nd sounds like fun. Drive by at Christmas time, see the beautiful nativity that they're doing. And thank you so much for all you're doing for our community.
Well, thank you very much, and God bless.
God bless you.